Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Well, this isn't Peyton's kid or Eli's kid. It's Cooper's kid playing quarterback.
They just fell flat on their faces.
And the SEC, who the hell knows what's going to happen?
Notre Dame gets in at 10-2. They're going to be in.
Don't be a dumbass. He should be cut right now.
The script writers had fun with that one.
I can't wait to let 18 to 22-year-olds coach me.
I made a call, to Vegas. I said, look, we actually need the paper.
Welcome again to Fair Bets presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, best place to bet touchdowns this season, except if you were me on Sunday and this week. New customers, you bet $5, bet $200 in bonus bets paid instantly. Download the DK Sportsbook app and use the promo code BEARBETS. That's BEARBETS when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. And Geoff and Sammy here as always. And what a ridiculous weekend of completely unfathomable results.
Yeah, the same every weekend, Bear, right? College football, sort of smooth sailing, understandable. The NFL, Sammy just tears your heart and rips it to shreds, and you try to pick up the pieces afterwards.
Kent State didn't score, Bear, but Oklahoma still didn't cover.
In our world, the college football world, a completely unfathomable, unexpected loss this week by Penn State at UCLA. The Nittany Lions were a 24.5-point favorite. UCLA was the only team in the country which had not led for a second in any game. This was a team that lost by 4 touchdowns on their home field to Utah and New Mexico. And it looked like a completely unprepared, unready Penn State team, which Geoff, by what I am boiling it down to, is the Penn State team that had its soul ripped out by the Ducks Saturday night in State College.
I would imagine you're right. Look, the Bruins had the blue out though, Bear. The blue out paid off, right? The Rose Bowl with half full and students not there and both end zones being tarped and whatnot paid off. The blue out paid off. It was so bad for Penn State. And credit UCLA's offense, Jerry Neuheisel getting his first opportunity to be a play caller. He got that job like 4 days before the game. He mentioned afterwards, he only had a couple of days to game plan. He mentioned afterwards, again, the first time play caller, that he didn't know what button to press to call in the plays at times. And then also he had his headset flipped up because he's a position coach. He's not talking, right? And he had to flip it down, then hit the right button to get the plays in. And they scored 6 touchdowns in this game. They were 6 for 6 in the red zone. Nico played like the player we thought he can be, and he scrambled a ton of Penn State had no answers. I think for me, Bear, the thing that was most frustrating about watching Penn State is that I think the effort was there, but there wasn't that little extra juice, and there were no adjustments made, right? The first time Nico scrambles fine, but the third, the fourth, the fifth time, where are the spies at? And lastly, I'll end with this. I know that Drew Aller played fine, okay? Like, if you look at his numbers,
fine, which is exactly what he is. He's fine.
Correct. But when I watch a team, any team really, I think you take your cue from the quarterback, right? And we saw, Nico played really well. The Bruins were fired up, right? I just don't think Aller is that type of guy. And they call the offense around a quarterback who's not the quote-unquote dude, Sammy. And that to me shows as a big problem for this team in general. And Tim Skipper, UCLA's interim head coach, 1-0 against top 10 teams. James Franklin's still winless against top 10 teams. So what a game, Sammy.
It's Groundhog Day every single year, the last 4 or 5 years. This is James Franklin's best team. If it's not this year, when is it? I believe I said last year, Bear, or last week, it's never going to happen. It just never will. And I'm not to call for people's jobs. That's not my job. I just don't understand how a Penn State backer or booster could ever want to sign up for this again. And, now they got to lay 21 at home against Northwestern. And can you imagine if they lose that game? Now, I'm not calling my shot, but, a lot of Key and Peele bits over the weekend on X, seeing James Franklin in the Key and Peele form. Maybe he was the guy coaching the team on Saturday.
It's so funny you say that, because there were legit times when we would in the past do a show at Penn State and Michael Key would show up, and I honestly would not know if it was him or if it were James, because they would both be
so good.
It was amazing. But I am really curious to see the crowd this week at Penn State College, if they show up, how many empty seats are there, the reaction, because I can't imagine there's going to be very much juice in that stadium. And while I get the call for James Franklin, like people talking about his job security, I don't think you can fire him. The buyout is massive. What this is going to be, and Geoff, this from being in the industry as well, and Sammy, this from covering this as long as you have. Like, this is going to be one of those perfect, like Jimmy Sexton maneuvered, give James Franklin a soft landing spot, get him a gig. That way Penn State doesn't have to ante up the buyout. Slide one of Sexton's guys in there to give him a job. It'll be one of those things. And someone, I don't know who it was this week. It might have been Brian Fisher. It might have been someone else. So I apologize for not having the story up. They made a very good parallel to what James Franklin is at Penn State with what the end of the John Calipari era was at Kentucky. That he's a great coach. He's won big games, but it just kind of gotten to a level where there's a little bit of toxicity, but in the fan, like it's apparent the best resolution for both sides right now would be to separate as amicably as possible. And so we'll see. Look, I was dead wrong in the beginning of the season. Like, I had talked about Penn State making the playoff at minus 260, 280, whatever it was, as a great bet. And now they are on the outside look. I didn't think I looked before, and they were as long as like or short as rather I should say is minus 700 to miss, because there's no reason to expect them to go to Columbus and win. And now I'm curious to see what that line against Indiana is in a couple of weeks. So curious there. And now I'm going to have to start money line UCLA to win every week to get off my UCLA under 1.5. Gee, I feel great about that, guys. I saw people tweeting at you that, Bear. I'm sorry. I mean, look, that balloon, the number was like 4.5 too. It's now 7.5 for the Michigan State UCLA game. One big picture thing, Bear, I think is really interesting that we can explore in the offseason is that these teams this year with the returning production, right? Clemson, Penn State, they just fell flat on their faces. And just specifically, like, I know I'm an offensive line guy, but like we do study this in the offensive line side of the ball for the Joe Moore Award. And the teams that hold all this returning production, you thought that, these teams, Penn State, Illinois, Clemson, would be these magnificent offenses and great offensive lines. It's just not there this season, where some of the teams that have the portal players, right, have some of the newness, Ohio State, right? New offensive linemen, new quarterback, new guys on defense, new coordinators. They're doing just fine. And the teams that return everyone, Bear, are not playing well. And I think returning production is something we're going to have to look at this offseason as maybe not the best metric to measure future success.
We do, though, every summer we talk about finding that team in the top 10 that will fall out of the top 25. And I don't think anybody thought it was going to be Penn State or Texas this year. Texas is just horrendous offensively. And that entire operation is predicated because the offensive line is doing nothing.
It's not good.
And the quarterback just can't process. So we look back and go back to the slate before week 1. Texas favored to win the national title, arch favored to win the Heisman. And I can't believe it took me this long, Sarah and Geoff. Well, this isn't Peyton's kid or Eli's kid. It's Cooper's kid playing quarterback. Wow, what a novel idea. But it just, we had hinted at the rift between Sark and the O-line coach, and that was on full display. They're screaming at each other on the sideline, and Florida is just teeing off, sending pressure that the quarterback's not able to handle and not able to process.
Well, Sam, sorry, Bear.
Go ahead, Geoff.
The thing about Texas and Penn State, though, too, is that, again, this is something we have to explore at the end of the season, is that college football, for the most part, as recruiting services have gotten better, right, and the star rankings tend to match the actual production on the field, is that we have found that the teams with the better talent just win the games they should win. And that's not the case this season. And I'm curious to figure out after the season why that is, right? Like, why are those three teams you mentioned, right? Like, why are they not as good this season as we thought, considering for years and years, as recruiting services got better at pegging what a 5-star and a 4-star is, Texas just won because they're better. Now, Florida obviously is very talented and needed to play up to that standard, and they did. But like a team like Penn State or a team like Clemson, I'm curious after the year to do that research onto maybe that's not the way I have to view these teams anymore.
It'll be interesting to see with Texas. And we hinted at the beginning of the year, like we were not looking at going over on a Texas win total. We thought this could be a 9-3 type team with some of the issues that they had and a lot of the things that they lost. We thought their defense could be good. And that was the offense is what the offense is. But what was alarming to me was how terrible their defense was on Saturday. I mean, that was a Florida team which couldn't get a first down against Miami. And they did more against Texas than Ohio State did. They were more dominant against that Texas team than the Buckeyes were. And to see them go for 470 or whatever it was, a season high in offense after throwing for 60 yards against Miami and just turning the ball over left and right against LSU, that was concerning to me. And now you're looking at Texas. I believe the last number I saw now on the Longhorns for no playoff was minus 245. That was since the loss. And you look, they're a slight favorite this week against Oklahoma, and the world is going to be on Oklahoma, even without Mateer at quarterback. You've got to go to Mississippi State, which is going to be a tricky game. You got Vandy coming in, and look, Vandy acquitted them. I know they didn't win, and there are no more moral victories, but they acquitted themselves really well. They controlled that game for a good number of stretches on Saturday, at least the ones that I saw while I was flying home. They got to go to Georgia, and then they got A&M. Like anything less than running the table, and you're done. I mean, I guess there is a world somewhere where a 9-3 team maybe could be in consideration for making the playoff, but I don't think this would be a 9-3 team worthy of making the playoffs. That no still seems kind of attractive to me. If you don't have anything, but yeah, this is how great it's going to make for a great final 2 months of the season where you've got a rush of unexpected teams to make the playoff. All the SEC that we look like. We had this little conversation the other day about how many playoff locks really are there right now. I think we can say Miami, Ohio State, and Oregon. We feel pretty good about those teams making the playoff. Like something really bad would have to go wrong for those teams to lose 3 games or 2 whatever to fall out of the playoff. But after that, Texas Tech, maybe. I still think they have to win the Big 12 to get in. And the SEC, who the hell knows what's going to happen?
It's going to be fun, Bear, because to your point, there's going to be a team we might not know about. I mean, look, Indiana, they could lose this weekend and beat Penn State, and they're 11-1, and they're back in the postseason, right? Look, there's still a chance that a team like, even a Michigan team. I think. Look, they have 1 loss on the road to Oklahoma with a true freshman quarterback making his first road start. They have a chance with their schedule, right, to get a lot of. They win this weekend. They beat USC, and they can get home against Ohio State again, or even if they lose Ohio State, 10-2 Michigan team. There are teams that we might not think. What about a team like Georgia Tech? They're 5-0 right now. Their schedule is pretty winnable till they play Georgia, and they could be 11-1 after the regular season. Bear having to play, obviously, probably Miami in Charlotte, but you go to 11-2 with a loss to Miami and Georgia. Are you not in 11-2? So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, Sammy, to see sort of who the other teams are that we don't really have on our radar right now.
We talked last week about the bet, the 3 teams against the field. Let's start there with Ohio State, Oregon, and Miami. In no order there, Geoff. Don't worry. I'm just throwing them out. I'm not ranking them. Ole Miss is probably in. I don't think Ole Miss is a lock, but they're on a really nice track right now. I think Oklahoma, even with a loss against Texas, would project pretty well because if they lose without Mateer, the committee will say, oh, well, Mateer wasn't playing. So that works in their favor. And you know who's happier or like probably happy with the Texas and the Penn State and all the drama that we saw?
No.
Notre Dame gets in at 10-2. They're going to be in.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think they're a lock, but they're favored in every game the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree. The Oklahoma situation is really interesting to me because I wonder, look, he's not going to play this week. Do you play him next week against South Carolina on the road, or do you save him and make sure he is completely 100% healthy, no issues for that final 5-game gauntlet of all those ranked teams? Like that will be, and maybe whether they win or lose this weekend.
It has to be whether you win or lose, Bear. If you win this weekend, you can afford a loss. So you can afford to, I think, wait as long as possible. If you lose, there's going to be a feeling like we can't lose the next week. Can't lose 2 in a row. I'm going to bring up one counter to your Georgia Tech run it. Maybe they got to go to Duke next week. That was a result on Saturday night. I was sky high after the Miami win, and then just completely crashed. I went to sleep with Duke trailing 21-14 and woke up to see 45-21. That's a hell of a, and I know before I left, like they were down a couple of guys on defense and they couldn't stop JKS, but to come back, win 45-21 on the road and what was seen as a weird spot. You've got the loss at Tulane, who might wind up being the group of 5 team, the loss at Illinois or home against Illinois where they just dribbled down the leg with all the turnovers. Duke is a team that maybe they could wind up being Miami's opponent in the ACC because look, they have Georgia Tech at home, they have Virginia at home. How ironic and funny would it be if you had Miami versus their former head coach Manny Diaz in Charlotte in the ACC championship game? I'd not consider Duke. I don't know, Bear. I gotta watch more of them. Now, look, the Cal game was impressive. We talked about Cal. That's just a tough place to play at night, and spooky things happen in the Bay Area, and they managed to make the best of it.
What about Duke too against Illinois, which was awesome, and Duke could do nothing offensively. Awesome.
Well, no, they did things offensively. They
give the ball to Illinois,
moved the ball up and down the field till they hit the 20, and then turned it over. Yeah. They did a lot. Speaking of turnovers and not doing a whole lot offensively, the team down the road, Tobacco Road, Chapel Hill, another absolute, I'll say ass kicking at the hands of a Power 4 team. It was never a game. You kind of thought that Dabo would love kind of putting one on them, and they did. And there's nothing worse. Well, I'm sure there's something worse, but it's a pretty bad combination when your team is bad and you're petty as well, which appears to be the case with this report and deal and story like North Carolina telling that don't tweet anything out about the Patriots. And, by the way, you got Drake May having an unbelievable game as they upset the undefeated Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. And you got Mac Brown kind of coming in with a little bit of shade, tweeting at the picture, him and Drake May. Like, this isn't going to end well in Chapel Hill, right?
North Carolina, by the way, Bear, did end up putting a Drake May highlight up after everyone made, that report came out. So they managed to get one up.
Guilted him into doing it.
Yeah, guilted him into doing it. Look, I think we've been very clear about what Belichick can and can't do and the issues that we saw with his hiring. And the number one issue is that he needed to have good players. You can't win without good players, right? Over the long haul of the 12-game season. And there was a report that came out last week from anonymous coaches, and I think Bruce wrote the report there, and it said, they said, as a G5 coach said, we're competing with North Carolina for the same players. North Carolina should not be competing with us for G5 caliber players, right, in the portal. And the problem with Belichick in New England wasn't that he couldn't coach, is that he had bad football players. He had many drafts in a row that produced nothing and no future for those players. He wasn't good at free agency at the end of his career either. And so now you ask him to go to college and learn how to pick the right players, and he's not. Sammy, the players stink. There's only so much you can do schematically if your players stink, and his players stink in North Carolina.
They stink so much that they almost didn't get me over 46.5 too. I was sweating that out because Clemson was pouring it on earlier. Talked about totals that we liked on last week's show on Thursday, and I had 46.5 over, and I'm thinking, oh, this is a layup. And then everything slowed to a crawl in the second half because Clemson's like, all right, we feel bad for this old man. Let's just take our foot off the gas. It did squeak over 38-10, but that could have been much worse, much worse.
Yeah, the good thing for Carolina is they have an off week this week, was to let it all brew and simmer and percolate into an even bigger story and a worse story PR-wise. And then you got to go to Cal, which won't be an easy game. Virginia, you're not going to beat Virginia. You got a game at shorthanded Syracuse. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Stanford comes in. That could maybe be a win. Wake Forest could maybe be a win. Duke, you're not beating, and you're probably not going to go to NC State and win. So this is probably 4 wins top year one. And if I put over under 24.5 games coached at North Carolina for Bill Belichick, you going over or under?
Under. Yeah.
I think it's max.
Now there might be a hesitation to fire him after the season. You put all these resources into him. You might want to let him have a second season, but he's not getting a third season. They're unless he finds a way to bring the right players in. But again, why would you think that he would do that after they have 5 passing touchdowns all season? Like, why would you think that he'd figure this out after not being able to do this for many years now?
And you've seen, Sammy, massive roster flips with coaching changes work with massive success in year one. Look at what Indiana did last year. I mean, they were a terrible team. And Cignetti came in, changed the culture, and overhauled the roster, and they wound up making the playoff. So like the excuse of, oh, well, you need a couple of years to bring your players in and build your that doesn't fly anymore.
I think we're learning that we just can't trust preseason hype or expect things to be the way that they always were. Perfect examples, Deion in Colorado. Oh, Deion will fix this. Deion will get players. Everybody will want to play for Deion. No, just his son and his friend, Travis. That's it, basically. And then with Belichick, I mean, they thought that people were going to be banging the door down to go play for Coach Bill, and that is just not the case. And when you see games like this and see Carolina just get destroyed and dominated, it doesn't exactly inspire hope in recruits. If I'm a young recruit that lives inside the state of North Carolina right now, and I look up and I see Duke, North Carolina, NC State, one of those things is not like the other, right? And that's North Carolina, but that was a gamble, a dice roll. I'm not sure how long the Belichick and Lombardi thing is going to work out there. If you gave me 23.5, I might take the over, but at 24.5 games, I'm definitely under.
Yeah, that's 2 full seasons with no bowls. That's why we set that number there. And speaking of setting numbers, here's a little flashback to something we discussed on Thursday in the NFL. A little bit of a live reacts to us discussing what would the Dylan Gabriel pass prop be.
Here we go. It's actually up on DK right now, 179.5.
79.5. Stop the show. Whoa. Hold on.
I think we're all going to do it. I'm you guys as well.
Yep. We did it. We all did it. Different levels, I'm sure, but we sure did it. A surefire winner turned into a surefire loser. Sammy, where were you on the final play of the game?
I was on live radio on Countdown to Kickoff, BetMGM Network. Yeah, it was awesome. Just fantastic to watch that on the air. The worst part was Gabriel throws the interception on the previous play, but no, Kevin O'Connell runs down the sideline to call the timeout. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is bad. I thought he was going to throw the Hail Mary and convert. No, he's going to throw a 20-yard pass, Jeff, and end the game. Didn't even make it anywhere near the end zone. All the things that had to go wrong there, including the Browns losing the lead to Carson Wentz, of all people. Carson Wentz gets him on top, and then Gabriel's going to be throwing. But it all worked out because Gabriel threw a pick. Oh no, he didn't throw a pick because we had a timeout, and then they throw the. What do you even call that play? It's not the cover play.
No,
it's disaster.
So
stat padding play.
So it's funny that I'm also on a radio show called Countdown to Kickoff, presented by BetMGM on 2 separate stations. We're on different stations, different times.
Wait,
right
why aren't I on
Sunday.
a Countdown to Kickoff show presented by BetMGM on Sundays?
It's
Feel left out of the fun now.
That we're doing that on separate stations. Legitimately, same title, same show. So I was on that as well. I'm on Gabriel, and here's the thing. So he had 146 yards heading in that final drive. Okay, and there were like 25 seconds left. You get a 22-yard completion. Okay, fine. Then 7 seconds left. Hail Mary, right? Interception. Game's over. And no, you call timeout. There's still 7 seconds. They're down 4. Not only did Gabriel go over on the next pass, but the Browns never even attempted to throw the ball in the end zone. Like they never even got a chance to win the game because they tried to move the ball up a little bit for some reason. Because Gabriel, he made it to the end zone on the first Hail Mary. He got to the end zone, so the arm strength is not a problem. So they complete this pass to Judy, I think it was Bear, and it didn't get him any close. He didn't even get an opportunity for the Hail Mary. So like it was a dumb play call. Besides just us losing our bet, it was a bad play call. The Browns never got a chance to throw the ball in the end zone.
Correct.
At the end of that game. So our bet, terrible. We were both on the radio. We both were heartbroken, is what it is. But the fact is, it was also just bad football. It was bad football by the Browns. And so
no doubt.
It just was that also kind of stung. I didn't have any money else on the game besides that. So it just was bad. If you're a Browns fan, you should be upset because it was a bad play call.
Well, it was funny though, Bear, because my co-host says, well, at least you'll win one of the 2 bets. Because I had Browns plus 3.5 in contest. So he's like, well, I mean, you can't lose both. And then the play unfolded and I went, thanks a lot, jerk. Like it literally lost both.
Speaking of bad football, you had something else, Jeff? Sorry.
I just saw a Sark. I know we talked about college earlier, but Sark's doing a press conference right now, and he is not taking accountability for the losses. It's going to be ugly in Texas. Guys.
Really? That's surprising.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Take the other teams and have them go play at Ohio State in the swamp and see how they do. I mean,
South Florida won there earlier this year.
It's your job to win the games, buddy. That's why you pay all that money.
Gigi Lagway threw for 60 yards and lost at Miami. Gigi Lagway threw 5 picks against LSU. Yeah, South Florida won 5 in Gainesville.
Just say we lost. Just be like we lost.
Exactly.
We got to play better.
Yeah, we lost. Our offensive line couldn't block. Defense, we couldn't adjust. They played great. Let's be honest. Speaking of bad football, by the way, I think the Jonathan Gannon 20-1 tickets we have on Coach of the Year are probably dead. They're coasters right now. I don't know where you stay. Of all of the Survivor losses ever, like this has to be the most unfathomable. The Penn State UCLA result was foreshadowing for what was going to happen. Yeah, my day started with Dylan Gabriel losing, and then my day didn't think ended yet, but I had the Cardinals with most of my survivors. I had 1 Bills. But yeah, 21-3 or whatever the hell it was. You're 20 and you're about to 21-3, 21-6, whatever the hell it was. I wasn't even paying attention. And then I'm at dinner and like my Apple Watch starts buzzing. I'm not checking it. And then I go back and like read the text and go back and read the threads and the tweets about what happened with the DeMercado fumble. Should have been 28-6, game over. By the way, I'm not sure that he didn't cross the goal line with the ball, but that's neither here nor there. Don't be a dumbass. Like he should be cut right now for doing what he did, especially on the heels of what AD Mitchell did. Was the last week of the week.
Very selfish. It's a very selfish play, right? In a game that does require some ego, right? And you have to be a little bit selfish, but all you have to do in that situation is just make sure you cross the goal line. You can celebrate as much as you want after you cross the goal line. Celebrate as much as you want, as loudly as you want, as vibrantly as you want, but make sure you freaking score the touchdown, man. I thought Jonathan again has a video of him just like ripping this kid to pieces. He should. Yes. He should do that because not only at the time, I don't think he thought they would lose the game, they could have used that 7 points, obviously. Then Tennessee turned around and scored 7 points on their own, or instead of being 6, they missed 2-point conversion. But like literally, you just have to cross the goal line with the ball. That's your number one job, and then celebrate all you want. So I'm glad Gannon ripped into him, and you might not be able to cut him per se, but it would probably cross the mind of Arizona to cut him.
It's like Sammy. Like, do they think that they're getting like extra points if like you? Like it's like the little like the game you'd play when we were like 10 or 11 years old with like the hockey puck that you'd push up the edge of the table, and like like if you got it like closer over the edge, you'd get more, you'd win, as opposed to your buddy who like had it hanging more over the edge. Like you don't get like a 9-point touchdown if you drop the ball an inch over the goal line. And then you had that combined with the idiotic fumble, interception, game over, fumble, miss it, bat it around, kick it into the end zone, Tennessee recovers. And then Jonathan Gannon, like, what are you doing? Like running the ball, like 2nd and 8, run my middle line of scrimmage, 3rd down, run into the middle of the line of scrimmage. You needed a 1st down to win the game, and you can't get it against the Titans, who are the worst team in the league.
I have a buddy who's convinced the NFL is rigged. And I always tell him it's not, to be very clear. And he sends me last night, the script writers had fun with that one. And I'm like, dude, that's not what happened. But to his point, mathematically speaking, the Titans had a 1.8% chance to win that game. 1.8, as DeMercado is racing toward the end zone and letting the ball out short. The point at that time was 1.8%. And then, even funnier, the Titans kicker tried his best to miss it at the very end. He almost pushed it right, but that was an unbelievable finish and a result that I don't think anybody saw coming, given how lopsided the game was, and then how lopsided it wasn't.
Yeah, it was a massive Survivor Carnage week. We'd finally been waiting for one. I was ecstatic after the Rams lost on Thursday night. I'm like, yes, good people went out. I'm like, Cardinals, they're not going to lose to the Titans. And then sure enough, they did. And then the triple whammy of mine on Sunday for bad beats. I know people like bad beats. I don't know how much they like hearing us like complain about them or relive them. But so we get these DraftKings turnover props and boosts, like I alluded to earlier in the show. So I'm like, hey, let me play one this week. So I play one that would have extrapolated out to like $13,000 win. Jake Ferguson scored twice against the Jets, easy. Derrick Henry, who I was worried about once they fell behind against the Texans, he did score. Perfect. Kyler Murray was the longest price. I'm like, after the game he had last week, terrible Titans, he'll score. He did. Jahmyr Gibbs scores. Now I got the shortest price on the board. James Cook against the Patriots, -205 or whatever. It was something like, it was north of $2 to score. Here we go. I just need James Cook to score against the Patriots for $13K. Joe Brady must have hated me because he was like not in the game in like the goal line package. So not only did I lose the $13,000 pad on a parlay, lost the Bills on my final Survivor entry. I am done with Survivor for the year. However, I did get the Commanders through in last man standing. So that's like my lone like positive in terms of like season long like football contests right now.
I think I tied the Aces being the Fever to the Bills winning last night, and that didn't go very well. So not the Bills losing last night was I mean, we're doing this whole thing where Drake May's the best quarterback ever in the world today. I get it, but no undefeated teams anymore in the NFL. I mean, I don't know who's good. We know the bad teams. It's a lot of bad teams. Like, who right now are you putting money on right now to win the Super Bowl in the
Lions
NFL?
and Chiefs.
Lions would be the team.
Lions and Chiefs.
Still the Chiefs. Okay. Chiefs also play Jacksonville as we record this. We'll see how they do, obviously.
I think Rice coming back. They're going to be a problem the rest of the year. Are the Patriots making the playoffs, by the way?
The schedule is so bad. They should. It's awful.
I think I looked quickly this morning, and I think I have to double check when we're done. Like, did I see like they were like -$2 to make the playoffs?
Yeah, given their schedule given that win. Well, now all the hype is around the Patriots because they just won on Sunday night. So then you look at their schedule and, well, they have the Saints up next, and then they play the Titans. Vrabel goes back to Nashville. So there's a lot of easy games, I guess, on the schedule. I'm just kicking myself, man. That Mahomes MVP bet that we talked about at 22-1 about 3 weeks ago. If they win on Monday night, he's going to be maybe the favorite because Allen came down a bit. Mahomes is now like 4-1 at DraftKings. If he throws 3 touchdown passes tonight and they beat Jacksonville, he might be the favorite.
Should bet Baker Mayfield now at 12-1 off of the 30-something to 1 that he once was. Nothing like chasing the line and chasing the and now all of a sudden, like you said, Sammy, like last week we're talking about Ohio State, Miami, and Oregon versus the field, and like people are questioning like, is Oregon like real? Miami's going to be upset at Florida State, and now people are like saying the same things that us three were saying. We're making fun and we're poking fun at certain people out there, which is fine. We get certainly poked at and laughed at, and we should. But I think that's the difference in kind of understanding a lot of things and to just reacting. Like we were talking about, all of us betting Oregon to go undefeated and Dante Moore to win the Heisman and Oregon to win the Big Ten and all those bets before the Penn State game to get ahead of the number. We were talking about Miami and the ACC and Carson Beck to win the Heisman, but before the year because we wanted to get ahead of the market because we knew what was going on. Like it may not win. Getting the best in the number doesn't guarantee anything. But now when you're kind of reacting, and it's fine from a news story standpoint to like write a story about this stuff. But when you could have had 37-1 on Carson Beck to win the Heisman, and now you got 650 or 7-1, or you could have had Miami at 4-1 to win the ACC, and now they're minus 185, or you could have had Dante Moore to Oregon rather to go undefeated at 5-1, and now they're like minus 200. Like things like that matter.
I don't know, Bear. I like Clemson to miss the playoff. I don't know. Call me crazy. I think Clemson's going to miss the playoff.
Is that number still available?
No.
Unfortunately, Bear, it is not. I mean, you can just wager on vibes, and feeling and game story and game scripts, and just wager on the best number. It's however you want to wager. It's okay.
Speaking of games that you actually can wager on right now, and looking ahead to this week, I'm really curious to see what goes on in College Station this week. You've got a Florida team which played their best game of the year by far at home. Lagway played the best game he's played all year. Looked as healthy as he's been all year. The defense dominated that Texas front, and Texas couldn't run the ball at all. Now you're going to A&M, where the Aggies don't have a home game after this until mid-November. A&M's kind of that forgotten about team. Their defense was awesome against Mississippi State. We liked A&M. We talked about A&M last week, about Mississippi State was going to be one of those trendy underdogs, and they got absolutely pummeled, couldn't do a thing offensively. They allowed 9 points to State, 10 points to Auburn the week before. Now you got a rejuvenated Florida, and I think there's going to be a lot of stories this week about Florida being re-energized. We saw this last year. Can they do it again? So this number was 8.5. It feels a little high. So I'm curious to see if this number comes down a little bit to 7.5. Does it hit 9 or go up? Because I could see it's in no man's land right now, and I'm curious to see which way the public and the smart money takes it. Do you have an early sense, Sammy, on like what way you think that line might go?
No, I'm not sure yet. I think obviously you're going to see some support for the team, catching points. Given what just happened, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It's also hard to say what the true number should be in Oklahoma and Texas, because Texas just got manhandled on the D line and the O line for that matter. And now Texas only a 3-point favorite at home. Now this number tells us, Geoff, that John Mateer is out. Yes, of course.
Correct.
If he were to get ruled in, I'm not trying to break news. I'm just saying if he were to play, this thing probably comes down to about a pick 'em. So with the market sitting 2.5, 3 now, that tells us Mateer likely out. Although we probably will hear on Friday morning or Saturday morning that he's a game time decision.
I think the thing about this game, and it really, you mentioned earlier, like the Penn State Northwestern game, is when you have a team with high expectations like Texas and like Penn State, and now very clearly those expectations are not going to be met, what do you get from your team in that situation? Now, this is a rivalry game, so at least they have that going for them. And the sell of, okay, if Mateer doesn't play, we face back a quarterback. We can win that type of game. Again, those things matter. If they were playing someone else, I'd be a little bit worried. I'm worried about Penn State this weekend against Northwestern. So like that is where I think my head is at for this game. The one that I'm eyeing, guys. I'm trying to, Bear, you're a better historian of college football than I am. When is the last time USC, University of Southern California, when is the last time that they beat anyone who was better than them in the trenches? Do we have a game in mind, like any game? Because couldn't do it to Utah, couldn't do it to Oregon, can't do Notre Dame. Maybe Notre Dame with Caleb Williams. That was the last time, but the Irish.
Yeah, I was going to say, was there a Notre Dame game that maybe they won, that they were favored and it wasn't a great Notre Dame? But yeah, that's a great question.
This is the problem. Michigan has a formula that travels, right? And they're going to have 25,000 Michigan fans in the Coliseum this weekend.
Totally.
And it's going to be, we're going to put our face mask into your face mask and see how tough you are. And well, I don't like Michigan's offensive line is fine this year, and Underwood is a young player, but this is his third. Bear, I know he's a true freshman. I get it, but this is also his third big road start. Like he's seasoned now. Like there's no excuse anymore of being a freshman, and the Coliseum is not allowed anyways. And I know USC's off a bye. They have offensive line concerns and injuries right now. But when's the last time they beat someone who can push around the trench? The answer is like never. Never happened under Riley.
I think the response, and I'm going through some schedules now. Would you say the LSU game in Vegas opened last year? Like, the thing is, that wasn't a great LSU defense.
LSU's defense was terrible that season. And
it beat Utah in 2019.
Well, yeah, but
maybe that was it.
Was Cam Rising in his fourth year at Utah there? I don't. my point is, I just think Michigan is just going to run the ball right down their throats the entire game and force USC to do a little bit too much on offense. And I just don't know. I'm surprised USC's a favorite. Honestly, I think Michigan's a better team than them. So Michigan, I'll tell you right now, hope by Thursday I get a 3. That will be my best bet. Come our episode on Thursday.
Well, I'd be surprised if he got 3. Wouldn't you, Sammy?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I can see SC being or Michigan rather being a pick this week. SC really disappointed me at Illinois. I mean, I know they had some injuries and there was some, but you can't lose that game. I mean, to take the lead and then allow that last second field goal. Michigan, I can certainly see as a play. I know they don't have a lot of explosives on the offensive side of the ball, but
I feel like, Bear, every time we do this show, I get to break to you Big Noon Kickoff for a couple weeks from now. It looks like Washington, Michigan, 2 weeks from now. Big Noon Kickoff for you.
Nah, not so fast.
Really? Friend. Are you going to mix it up?
Not so fast, my friend. If you look, I'm not announcing anything. I think if you look at the Big 12 schedule that day, you potentially got the Holy War, which could be an undefeated BYU team against one-loss Utah.
That'd be fun.
Potentially got Arizona State against undefeated top 10 Texas Tech. If Arizona State were to win this, watch that Arizona State Utah game this week. That might determine a lot as to where Big Noon winds up on the 18th.
Okay, I love it, man. You show the Big 12 some love, man.
We have to. We should. Why shouldn't we? By the way, Utah.
God, I'll tell you right now.
Utah 5.5 point favorite. By the way, over ASU.
This is
BYU with 2.5 point favorite over Arizona.
This is 2 weeks from now, but Penn State goes to Iowa for a night game. Oh, buddy, that could be the end of Penn State season.
Yeah, then they have Indiana and Ohio State after that.
Yeah.
Didn't foresee that coming at all. Look, none of us thought that Penn State was a national title contender. I think we all thought that they were a playoff team that wouldn't be able to beat the three top 10 teams that would need to beat to win the national title. But I don't think any of us foresaw, gosh, could they be 8-4, 7-5? I mean, it could be that bad. Wow. Unfathomable. But That's all we got for now. That was a fun kicking around a bunch of different stuff. Kind of let some stuff off of our chest. It was therapeutic to see and talk to you guys. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed the watch and the listen, whether it was on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back Thursday. Bear Bets College Football, Bear Bets NFL, Bruce and the Bear on Friday. I will be back in Champaign before the Illinois-Ohio State game. The Buckeyes about 16-point favorite there. So we'll see if number one can survive on the road. Like a lot of ranked teams didn't do this past week. For Sammy, for Jeff, a Bear, bless you bet, or you lose when you win.